Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Arlise Maxine and I am an artist, and today I am going to be doing some painting, but I'm drawing on an iPad right now. That's not painting. Well, technically it's digitally painting or digitally drawing, but this is the first step to the painting that I'm going to be doing today. I decided to digitally draw it first so that I can quickly and easily transfer my drawing to my painting surface, which is going to be my sketchbook, as we'll see in a few moments. So I am painting technically I'm drawing a plant right now. I had previously painted a plant as a gift for my boyfriend, and I had so much fun doing it, and I fell in love with that painting, and I just fell in love with that process of painting again. So I decided to do it again, and why not take you along with me throughout the entire process. This is the entire process of painting this. This is digitally drawing my sketch, this is transferring my sketch, painting my sketch, and even making the paint palette. So if you ever wondered how I've been painting with my new acrylic paint, which has been Blick paint, a thicker acrylic paint that I've used in my life before. I've used very watered down or just thin craft paint for years and years. So, you know, big girl steps, been using more art materials. So these are more artsy artist paints. I mean, you can be a beginner for any paint, and you know, you'll figure it out eventually. So I've just been playing around with this, and I've also been using a new sketchbook, but I've yet to paint with acrylic paint in it. So let's do that together, and I've loved it so much that I plan to do a lot more acrylic painting in there. Instead of filling up my walls with a million canvases or canvas panels, let's just paint in my sketchbook. And thank goodness that I have mixed media sketchbooks that I can just paint or draw in. So back to the digital drawing process here. I am finally coloring it in just so I can get an idea of where the shadows are when I begin painting. You might recognize this plant. This is a Monstera deliciosa. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Not a plant enthusiast, although I have a couple of plants. This is a very popular plant that I see all the time, and it would just be so awesome to have a huge plant like this. But I do not have the space for that right now, so I am painting it instead, so I can see it in my sketchbook all the time. So I changed the background colors on this a couple times, especially the plant pot colors, and I'm just doing a couple of stars on the sides, because you know me, I put stars absolutely everywhere. But yeah, I basically followed the same idea that I had for my last painting, which I'll put a picture of right now, and you can see I did a bit of a different, similar background to that. So yeah, that's the digital drawing, and let's start transferring so you can paint. Okay, so this is going to be kind of weird and strange, but trust me, trust the process, it's going to work out, even though it didn't really work out a couple of times. Anyway, I have tracing paper here, and I am tracing the shape of my sketchbook page because, as you saw, I pointed to my computer because I sent the digital drawing to my computer. And that's the shape of my sketchbook, and I just trimmed it, and I'm trying to figure out if I should do it backwards or if it should be the right way, because I was worried about it being flipped wrong on my sketchbook. That happened twice. So anyway, now get some masking tape or scotch tape and tape it to the bezel of your monitor, which is the edge of your monitor. And now I'm trying to fit it exactly in the shape of my sketchbook page, which is why it's important to trace it out so it would match, because I want it to fit exactly in my sketchbook page, which is 8 by 10 inches. So I'm just trying to shape it and fit it in that perfect box there, and then I taped the bottom because it was still a little hanging low. Now, be extremely careful drawing on your monitor. I have a pretty good monitor, and it's brand new, so I'm trying to be very careful. But this is how I used to do this for years before I started using a printer. I no longer use a printer. So yeah, be very careful drawing on that. Use a lighter pencil or thicker pencil so you don't have, use a thicker pencil actually, so you don't have to, so it's not a very sharp pencil. Make sure it's sort of a dull pencil. And like I said, I did this wrong a couple times, so this is why this looks really messy. it was backwards when I did this, so I drew on the back of it instead, so that when I put it down on my page and I draw on the back of that, then the image is there. So basically what's happening is that I'm transferring the graphite because I drew on the back of it, and I'm drawing on the because I'm drawing on the back of graphite, and that process is pressing it into the page. So the graphite that I'm drawing over on the back of, there's nothing on the back. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I flipped, so you saw I drew on one side of the page of the transfer paper, and then I flipped it, put it on my sketchbook. You can just like press it down and it might stick, although it might not. So just draw on the back of your drawing. So like so you can see this is flipped, okay? Stay with me. This is flipped. And then when I peel it off, it's there. You see what I'm talking about? I hope that made sense. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, so I don't know if I explained it very well, but that's how I do it. You could also even not even worry about drawing it. You can just literally trace the image of your reference or whatever, but you know, I try not to do so much tracing. Anyway, back to the painting. So I have a couple of colors here. Those are my Blick paints. I'm going to make a green. How do you make green? Yellow and blue. And this is going to be the color that I'm going to make all of my colors with. So it's a pretty bright green, but I want to darken it. And to do that, use the color wheel. I'm adding red. Why? Because it's the opposite color, and instead of adding black to make it super dark, I'm adding a little bit of red, and it actually darkens it. Could you see the difference there? Okay, now I'm taking a little bit of that and yellow to lighten that. And then I literally do that like 4 more times to get a nice range of a green color palette here. So I want to keep doing this, keep lightening it down, so I have the exact shade that are just a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter. So cool, got it? Now this is a more yellow, lighter green, and then I wanted an even darker one, so I took a little bit of that dark green that I first made and more red. It turns out that was a little too much, so I had to add a little bit more blue and green to lighten it up because I think it was too dark for me, and then it was too blue, so I had to add more yellow. Okay. Oh, are you still with me? Yes. See, I'm just comparing it to that first color so it's not too off, and turns out it was. So I had to keep tweaking with that a little bit. But this is going to be the dark color that we're using for shadows. And I also have a spray bottle with me, so I make sure that these are wet. I know somebody suggested in my paint art supplies video that they said to get a wet palette. I know your comment. I used to have that as when I was a kid, when I was, you know, everybody would give me like any art supply, and my sister got me a wet palette thing. Didn't really know how to use it. Probably lost it in my mom's house. So this is what I have right now. I do like the disposable pages. I even reuse some of the ones that I've already painted on, like use the palette on. So maybe I will try that out when I run out of disposable pages, a wet palette. So thank you for that suggestion. And I just did an underpainting here, so I made another light green, and this is the underpainting. And underpainting just makes your painting pop. If you just paint straight onto a white canvas, white paper, the colors just are really weird, and it's just not as you envision it in your head, and the white still like peeks through. But if you have an underpainting, there won't be any white peeking through. There'll be, you know, whatever base color you put down. And sort of the trick is, it kind of depends on what you're painting, because it for like what underpainting color you should do, it sort of depends on the vibe or the mood, especially if you're doing painting like a sunset, you know, it's sort of that kind of thing. And so I just started with a light green because I wasn't really sure how the blue would react on top of that, but it turned out really fine because that's the background that I'm doing. So, but I did green so that the green would pop. So this is a light green, and there's a lot of darker greens that are going on top of this, so it really just like works very, very well. And I put some binder clips on the edge of my sketchbook just to keep those pages from flapping around. And also, this is a cool new desktop easel that I got for Valentine's Day. Like I said, when you're an artist, you get art gifts, but I love it. It's a bit bulky, but for like, you know, if I'm trying to reach my keyboard or something, it's a little difficult, but with holding my sketchbook, it's absolutely perfect. He made sure to get like the size of an open sketchbook so that I can draw on there, because that's what I wanted. I wanted a new easel that I can draw on my desk with, because the easel that I do have is more for painting, so it's kind of hard to hold a sketchbook on that. It's a bit better for canvases and stuff. So yeah, I am doing all of the bases, which is, you know, just sort of a first initial color. I did all the shadows first. I'm doing dark to light, and because that works best with acrylic paint for me. I used to just do a base color and then dark and light on top of that, but you know, now I'm moving on to starting with the darks and then lightening that down and blending that. And yeah, I'm using all the greens that I have there made, and I did the pot off camera just because, you know, it's some red and gradients. It's all the same like blending process for everything. So I'm just filling in all of the bases with that like first green color that I made, that like bright green color that I made, and you know, starting with blending the darks and just adding some more light colors onto it just to get some shadows and highlights. This like light green that I made was a little too yellow, but you know, it's a lot of trusting the process and just working with what I've made. You know, make sure to clean your paint knife in between mixing your colors, because you know, then you'll get a really messy color that you don't want. And now I'm doing using one of the really light greens, and you know, I went back and forth a lot, and you know, changing some of the colors. You know, it's all a process, and you know, I use that technique of blending with a wet or dry brush. Right there, I just used a wet brush to blend some of that light green because it was super bright, like way too bright to start with. So I'm trying to push that color around so it's not so like in your face. And you see I dimmed it down a whole ton, and I think I even went over it with some more blue. I mean, oh my god, the blue just distracted me and I said blue. With some more green just to change that color. And before I continue like working on all the details in the leaves, I decided to start with the background so that I get that down and so it doesn't like mess with anything. I just didn't want to paint too much on the underpainting part of the background and, you know, have to clean it up a bunch after. So I just did this like really beautiful blue. It's not exactly accurate as the blue background that I had in my digital drawing, but that's okay. It still looks really cool, and I just love the texture and how bright it is. And you see how well that goes on this underpainting that I had. If I did white, you would see like white peeking through, and it would just be a completely different color. So make sure you do underpaintings when you're working with any paint. I don't think it works as well with watercolor, because then if you're painting a portrait, then your person is going to be purple or pink, or you know, but pink might actually be pretty helpful. You know, with some watercolors you can't really paint over it too much, because then, you know, that color is just very there. You can't really color light colors over that. And I'm sure there's watercolor techniques. And then I'm doing that like sort of stem sort of thing. I don't know what we call that. That like part in the middle of a leaf. It's definitely not a stem. I don't know why I said stem. That, you know, that thing in the middle of a leaf. That like light green line. And she's using that same color to do a lot of the highlights all around. And, you know, sometimes I'll use my finger to blend that color in, or I'll use a dry brush to push that color around, or I'll even use a wet brush. These are all acrylic painting techniques. With wet brushing, it helps with like thinning that color out a little bit, and then dry brushing will, you know, push the color around without, you know, making too much of a mess. Dry brushing didn't work as well on here because the acrylic paint dried really fast, so I wasn't able to really blend it too much, so wet brushing helped the most. You can see here the dry doesn't really work that well, especially since the paint dried pretty much instantly. So wet brushing, dry brushing, it all depends. You can use all of the techniques at the same time, which as you can see I'm doing all that here, and I'm just continuing with trying to blend these highlights around, adding some more greens if it's needed, and bringing those shadows back because they kind of got lost with coloring in all the bases. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I added a little bit of white to that previous light green color that I used to continue lightening everything up. Be careful adding white with your paint because it will completely change it and it'll just be too white, and just dull it out. Use the color wheel to get those accurate colors, because if you're adding black to a color to darken it, it will be too dark, too black, and it just won't match the rest of your painting and the mood of your painting. So use the color wheel to figure out what's the secondary color or the opposite color of that color that you're using, to use that to darken it. As you saw in the beginning, I add a little bit of red to the green to darken the green because it's the secondary color to red. Yeah, red, blue, and yellow are the primary colors. The secondary colors are green, orange, and purple, and the primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Okay. And so if you want to darken yellow, add a little bit of purple. If you want to darken green, add a little bit of red. If you want to darken blue, add a little bit of orange, I believe. I haven't tried that combination yet, but it should work following the color wheel and using the secondary colors. And yeah, so now I am doing the green stars. I had a couple neon paints that I could use to, the color that I use in the digital drawing is very, very bright neon, but I don't know how to make it neon. So I used the neon that I had, and I tried to do it, but it's as close as I can get it. And that is the final painting. Hope you enjoyed this video and this really strange tutorial for the transferring and stuff. So yeah, that's how it's looking, and thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my Patreon and my other links in my description, my social medias. And yeah, have a good day. Bye! See you next time!